one that I do want to talk about here is Dragon Quest Heroes, because I've played a huge amount of it. This is the Dragon Quest Dynasty Warriors hybrid, a la kind of Hyrule Warriors retooling a Zelda. And it launched for the Switch way back in its first year on the market with two caveats. Firstly, it was completely Japan exclusive, never came out in England or America or the West at all. And secondly, it ran like dog shit on the Switch because Omega Force had yet to dial in their approach to the hardware with their port of Hyrule Warriors. Like basically everything they've released after that's been mostly okay. Obviously the Breath of the Wild Age of Calamity did not run amazingly, but it was passable. But Dragon Quest Heroes was not that passable. I'll say it was not nice to play. So I was curious as to how the extra power of the new hardware might increase performance. So I chucked in my little Japanese cartridge, and lo and behold, it's now a completely smooth locked frame rate. And I've played the game for over 20 hours, even though I can't read a word of it. You know, it's mad. The Dynasty Warriors games and all of their kind of associated Warriors spin-offs like this are the closest we have to 3D beat-em-ups a la Streets of Rage, I'd say. And even if these kind of crossover games are created with a touch of cynicism, because it's essentially going, look at the characters you like, they're all together and they're fighting big baddies. I am a bit of a sucker for it because I don't even care about the franchises, but I'm still like, oh, look at all the Zeldas. Look at all the Zelda people. Like I just enjoy having a big team to smash things around.
Rocky and Drippy and
they're all there.
Wow.
Now, normally in this sort of game, we'd talk at least a little bit about the story of the game, but as I've mentioned, I don't know what's going on. So instead, I skip every text conversation. I watch the very nicely animated FMVs with a bemused look on my face. And then I have to use Google Lens to translate menu options until I can basically find the options I need by rote muscle memory, which I've got quite good at now. But you start off as a party of two. You gradually add to your roster with characters from other Dragon Quest games, which none of I've played. You know, I've played the first Dragon Quest and that's it. And they're all joining together to repel some stereotypically evil looking Jafar from Aladdin type baddie guy. This is all irrelevant though, because it's the moment to moment gameplay that is fun. And that's what's kept me interested, because you just hack and slash and cast magic and you fight through big fields of enemies. And in this one, you also have an ability to deploy monsters that you collect during battle, like a sort of soft Pokemon game. And you've got skill trees to upgrade, you've got things to craft and equip. It's all, you know, the works as you'd expect it in one of these titles. And it's highlighted to me, as if I didn't already know, because we talk about it all the time, the importance of making gameplay fun for a game, because that is arguably the thing that's going to sustain you most of the time. And if I put this much time into the game on my shiny new Switch above Mario Kart World, above Cyberpunk, it's clear that the core is just good, satisfying design. You know, I'm just having a nice time. It's become a bit of a running joke at home that when I'm playing anything on the TV, Georgia will compare it to Vampire Survivors. I don't know why that started, but here it does track quite well because you're frequently swamped by 20 or 30 enemies at once. And it is a game just about pure power fantasy. You know, when you talked about Diablo 4 recently, your overriding takeaway was essentially big numbers get bigger. That's a fun gameplay loop. And all of the Warriors games are essentially doing that. You know, whether you're suited and booted in the veneer of Chinese history in Dynasty Warriors or Gundam or Zelda or Dragon Quest, it's just about being powerful and then getting more powerful. And at that stage, who really cares about the story or the characters? Just give me a guy who swings a sword through big crowds, and then eventually give me a bigger sword that I can swing through bigger crowds. And I'm pretty happy with that. That it now runs perfectly on the Switch 2 is just the icing on the cake. You know, the Switch 2 is different to previous Nintendo hardware generations because it's not just a Wii slapped inside a Wii U. That was literally the solution there. It was just, we'll just put the hardware inside it. And in the same way for the DS, it just had a Game Boy Advance motherboard in it, essentially, to run the backwards compatibility stuff. The Switch 2 is different because it's running a translation layer, more like kind of Proton on the Steam Deck running Windows software for Linux. And the benefit is that if a game was ever limited by memory access or bottlenecked by the CPU or the graphics unit, there's a good chance the Switch 2 will just brute force its way to a smooth 30 or 60 frames per second, depending on how it was coded in the first place. So just free upgrades. So yeah, very niche, strange game that I've played a lot of. Good machine, good game. Games are cool. I like it. Fun, isn't it?